So like we know, today's book is Leadership Wisdom. So why did I pick this book? Because leadership is a topic I'm extremely passionate about. And as a leadership coach, what I have observed is many people, when they work with me, one of the common things they say is, I want to become a better leader. So what does it really take to become a better leader? And this book, Leadership Wisdom by Robin Sharma, shares some very lovely nuggets on leadership, and that is the reason why I chose this book. What did I like about this book? I think the smooth flow, very easy read, relatable, and pretty simple, and it leaves you with a feeling like, oh, I wish I also have somebody like this to guide me and coach me on leadership, So that's what the book leaves you with. So let me give a quick summary and a broad overview of the book, and then we will go to the panelists and get their perspectives. So the book is about a guy called Peter Franklin. Now Peter was extremely dynamic but short-tempered, who would micromanage every aspect of the business, and he did not know how to manage people and build relationships. He started a company called Global View Software Solutions along with a friend, and though the business was successful initially, very soon it started to plummet because the morale of the employees was very poor. It was losing market share, losing profits, and it was in a downturn. So Peter was extremely stressed about it because there was low productivity, very little creativity, and there was little trust within the organization. He did not know how to lead, and he was at this very poor juncture. And that's when an old friend of his reappears in his life as a new avatar. So this guy is called Julian Mantle. And Julian decides to share the leadership wisdom with Peter. So how did Julian get enlightened about leadership? Julian was apparently in the Himalayas, and there's somebody called Yogi Raman, who was a great sage of Sivanna, who tells him and talks to him about leadership. And that's what this book is about. So according to Yogi Raman, leadership is a philosophy of life. And leadership, when it's focused in the direction of a worthy purpose, that is a game changer. So leadership is not about position, but about action. And most importantly, leadership is about developing people. So he shares in this book 8 rituals that every leader needs to follow. Visionary leader, that's what he says. So what are these 8 leadership rituals? So the first one, I'll quickly take you through on some of the points that stood out for me as a reader under each of these rituals. So the first ritual that he says is link paycheck to purpose. Because he says, purpose is a great motivator. And every human, he says, has a hunger to make a difference in the lives of others. And therefore, when there is a compelling cause, if a leader can identify the compelling cause or the purpose and emotionally engage with the team, that becomes a huge game changer. So he gives a beautiful example. He says, during World War II, there were people who were just packing parachutes, and very tedious, and they were not greatly thrilled about what they were doing. It was pretty monotonous as well. So one of the leaders, he called everybody, and then he reminded them about the value of the work that they were doing. He said how their work enables to save more lives, and he reconnected them with the bigger picture, the purpose of why they were doing what they were doing. And guess what? After that, the productivity just soared like anything. So that's why he says purpose is something very important. And he also suggests you could probably do a leadership audit of your own self, how good or what are the things that you need to improve about your leadership. The second ritual is manage by mind and lead by heart. So he says visionary leaders, they connect very deeply with their people, and trust is the core thing, everybody needs to have as leaders. He also touches upon the power of listening with the intent to understand what the other person has to say. And he also says the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated. I'm sure all of us as humans, we love to be appreciated on a work that we have done well. So he talks about that, and he also says, as a leader, you can show minor acts of caring, and because you're caring and concerned about the welfare of your people. So that's what the ritual 2 is about. The ritual 3 is, he says, reward routinely and recognize relentlessly. He says leaders have to become coaches to ensure the success of their team, and he says that's why being a coach is important. Again, he stresses upon the importance of the recognition and sincere appreciation for whatever efforts the people are doing. And he says when you reward the team, reward them with whatever motivates them. Just because you think something is going to reward doesn't work that way. Find out what really motivates your team. And when you're appreciating, you need to be specific, sincere, immediate, and you do it in public, because that's when the team is going to feel a lot more kicked about it. The 4th ritual is, he says, surrender to change, because as a leader, you need to know how to manage what is unexpected. And this is a very nice thing, he says, to change the results that you're getting, you must change the things that you are doing. And he also says, it's important to create a learning culture, because the best antidote for fear is the knowledge, right? Because when you change, there is growth, and change is essential for evolution. He even says nature loves change, and I thought that was so true, right? We have so many seasons and different things that nature produces, so change is important. And he also says corporations spend about 50 to 70% on salaries, but they invest less than 1% on training the team. He says it's important to improve the team's abilities, because the growth of your company is directly proportional to the growth of your people. So I thought that's pretty valid. The 5th ritual is also something interesting. He talks about focus on what is worthy, because know what is the high yielding activities, whatever that you're doing. You should know what are the things that remain to be undone, right? Because if you want to focus on everything, it doesn't happen. So what are the things that remain undone, and switch from being busy to achieving your results. Don't just be busy doing umpteen number of things, be a lot more result focused. And a lovely thing he talks about is something, the time leadership, which says the time leadership is discover how you lead your time. Because if you don't lead time, time will lead you. And he also says, if your priorities don't get put on your planner, then other people's priorities will. So he's combined the focus on the worthy along with the time. I thought it was very nice. The 6th ritual is the leader leads thyself. So that's more about the self-development, because as a leader, only if you develop well, then the business or the organization grows well. So he talks about 5 things here, which is discipline of personal renewal, discipline of abundant knowledge, and also the principle of association. With whom are you associated? What are the kind of books that you read? The 3rd is the discipline of physicality, where you care for the body. Then the discipline of early waking, and the discipline of the deathbed mentality. Because he says when the moment you think about your deathbed, that's when you have a sense of urgency, passion, and the drive to do whatever you want to do. The 7th ritual is, he says, see what everyone sees, but think what no one thinks. So he says, everybody is creative. You need to unlock your natural state of creativity, reward curiosity, and recognize the new ideas your team members are giving. And he says people feel very stifled about their creativity if they think that there's something they have to lose, and that's why they don't like to take the risk. But creating that atmosphere helps people to come up with their natural creative self. And the last, the ritual 8, which is again, something very powerful. He says, link leadership to legacy. Because this one deeply resonates with me, because he says, how much value have you added and how many lives have you improved? The reason this really resonates with me is that's one of the reasons why I decided to quit my corporate job and do what I'm doing as a business and leadership coach, because I felt I need to have a purpose where I'm able to create an impact with others. So this deeply resonated with me. And he also says, what makes greatness is beginning something that does not end with you, because that's what legacy is all about, right? And he talks about a very beautiful story here of Leo Tolstoy. It's about somebody called Ivan Lich. So Ivan was he was only concerned about being successful, appearing successful rather, instead of even doing what was right. He says he got married, had kids, not because he wanted to, because that's what was expected out of him, right? So Ivan led this sort of a life, and he built a beautiful house. Everything was set, but yet he was ill-tempered. He wouldn't treat people well. And one day he had a fall, and slowly he was nearing towards the end of his life. And it was at that moment that he felt, what if my whole life was lived in a wrong manner? That was like a moment of awakening. It was a tad late, but that's when he felt that way, because he started reflecting on what life is all about. He says, life is actually a great gift. And he felt, I could have actually contributed so much more, contributed greatly. I could have taken risks, I could have dared, I could have dreamt, and I could have done so much more. He realizes it only in the end, towards the end of his life. So he says, our duty is to serve all and enrich the lives of people around us. And that was, I thought, very, very beautiful the way he had said it. So this is like the gist of the book. Was there something that could have been better? From my perspective, I thought it could have been slightly more crisper, because he's combined the leadership wisdom in a fictional format. So I thought the fiction could have been slightly lesser. And I thought he could have added a lot more examples, shorter anecdotes and stories to make it more lively. But despite that, I think the book is a great read, lovely nuggets of wisdom that he shared, some great points that resonates with most people. And I also liked the fact that he was giving a summary highlight at the end of each chapter. So to conclude, I would say that follow these 8 rituals if you want to be a great leader. And you could also have like an accountability partner, like a leadership coach or somebody where you're accountable for your progress. Because, many times these things are easy to read and then, it's so good. But are we actually applying these wisdoms in our life? So that's what is a crucial thing that we need to ask. So with that, I have given you all the overall summary. So feel free to read the book. And